Hey traders, how's it going? This is Scott Schneider bringing you a shadow short. It is Wednesday, May 21st, just after 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Quite a day. Splendid? I don't think so. So it's on the daily. We're looking at the SPX and it's a candlestick chart. We lost the 8 EMA today. We had spent quite a bit of time above the 8 EMA. That's the purple cross here. And today we did close below it. We are still above the 21 EMA on the daily, so we got that going for us. Now, today's selling came in very heavy after a weak 20-year auction. But yields heading into the day were at very high levels, and the 30-year and the 10-year especially. And so, headed into the overnight, we do have yields, well above, close to 4.6%. So we just have to keep an eye on it. And they have been high. They were higher prior to the 20-year auction, but the auction today at 1 p.m., you could really see that it had an effect. And I'll show you, if you look at the volume. So I track the volume every 30 minutes from the open. For me, I'm on Eastern time, so the open at 9:30, and I got, the day's volume compared to the previous day's volume. And this is for ES on the futures, not on SPX. And the bond auction ended at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And the percent change was a 343% change from 1 p.m. to 1:30 from the previous day in terms of volume. And it continued, at the 1:30 to 2 p.m. And then it kind of calmed down, but we still had elevated volume, and, it was a much more heavy volume day after 1 p.m. And so that's why, you don't just want to look at price, which is the advertising mechanism. You do want to look at, time, the constant, as well as volume, how you grade an advertised price. Shout out to Dalton. So if we take a look at the profile, so this was, that was the 10-year, and we looked at the SPX. Now if we take a look at the market profile using Window Trader, we'll see that, you could kind of, because we have this distribution, these single prints in H period from, when after the bond auction was out and you saw this major selling. I mean, we had a good bit of auction going on above the open. And then H period, which is the 1 to 130, really, came in hard to the downside, and then the auction went lower. And so as long as buyers are not able to get back above the high of the single prints that were created today, that go to 59.13, that'd be the top of them, then rallies can be sold. Now, one thing that we do want to keep in mind, and one thing that I think is important to consider, we had a very stretched market. If we go back to the SPX, we had the large gap from last week that remains completely unrepaired. So at no point last week did we see any, attempt to repair that structure. And so now the way, I'm going to be looking at this is, if this selling is real and this selling is serious, then they should be able to fill in that gap. So we'll see that in the, overnight it would happen in the ES, in the futures. And so that's what, I'll be monitoring. And it's a large gap. I mean, it starts around the 58.05 area, and it goes all the way down to the 57.09, 57.10 area. So that's a whole lot of excess. And if, sellers can't get into that range and can't, find acceptance below that range, so below the gap, back into the range of May 9th, then this could have just been a large inventory correction, because we had not really observed much structure repair, and this structure leading into today's session was not fantastic. So I think it'd be wise for us to just, take more of a cautious approach and see if this was an inventory correction or if this is something, more long-lasting. And if it's something more long-lasting, that gap that's unrepaired from May 12th, that's the target, and you'll want to, plug away at that. If we take a look at the internals today, just to see, I mean, this was all 11 sectors that make up the S&P were involved in this. And it got way more pronounced as the day went on. I mean, we went over it at 1 p.m. You got had a whole bunch of negative 1,000 ticks. So not just one, a lot of the iceberg was to the downside on the ticks. You did get the ADs pegged below negative 2,000, and NASDAQ was negative 2840. And you had a closing breath in the NYSE at negative 9.74 to 1 and negative 3.32. So by no means am I trying to downplay the significance of that strong of selling. I just think in this market where we have a 10-year auction coming up tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, the tone can change. We have a tax bill that could potentially get, voted on, and the vote could be, could get passed. That could change the tone. So let's monitor, play it safe, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and I hope to see you guys in the room. Peace. Hey, this is Scott Schneider from the Futures Room over at ShadowTrader's Live Trading Suite. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And if you'd like to trade live with me in real time, please click the link in the description below. Have a great day and happy trading.